Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Send Next Choices. My name's Simon Hewitts and I'm one of the Employment and Skills Managers with Leeds City Council. I'm very pleased to welcome two speakers today. I have Katie Parlett from the Lighthouse Futures Trust and Jess Rymil from Lumen College. They're going to talk to you about supported internships, so hopefully you'll know a lot more at the end of the session.
Thank you, Simon. So I'm Katie Parlett. I'm from Lighthouse Futures Trust. We're a small specialist college based in Headingley in Leeds, and we specialise in supported internships. We work across the city and have about 60 roles in different organisations. And this is a partner colleague.
Hi there, so I'm Jess from Leeds City College, and we've just started supported internships this year. Leeds City College as a whole is a massive organisation. However, we will be based at our Park Lane campus in the Leeds City Centre.
Thanks. So between us, we're just going to walk you through what a supported internship actually entails, so you'll get a really good feel about it. And we thought we'd start off with a really engaging video where you can actually see the young people and some of the employers in action. So, without much ado.
In 2023, Leeds pledged to significantly increase the number of supported internships in the city by 2025. Funded by the UK Government's Department of Education and supported by a range of partner agencies, a supported internship is an opportunity for young people aged 16 to 25 with a range of support needs to move into paid employment. Each supported internship includes time at college and time learning to do a job or a range of jobs by working with an employer on site. At college, students study for qualifications and learn employability and social skills.
There's a real socialisation. They're working with other interns and getting to know them, as well as further enrichment and wellbeing programmes that we run.
Job coaches employed by the college are based on the employer site. They continue to coach the interns and liaise with the employer representatives. In the workplace, the intern is never alone, but supported by a dedicated team. A job coach provides daily one-to-one support. Work buddies offer support on the job, alongside working with other employees in the business, a programme which turns interns into employees.
My role is handling emails and logging emails onto the database and replying to compliments. I'm very experienced working with computers. I've worked with databases, with Excel spreadsheets, with film editing software, with art software, just a whole bunch of stuff.
The job coaches work with the employer coordinators, who identify opportunities within their businesses, which interns can then develop skills and training for.
Within the NHS, there are 350 job roles, which gives us a great scope for the possibilities. And we would look to where our vacancies are, where our gaps in staffing are, and look to see what it is that we are missing there. We would look to the interns to see whether or not they have the right skill mix to fill those roles and what we can do to support them into that position.
So as a phlebotomist, it's my job to take the blood from the patient. We then take them into tubes and then we label them, we fill out forms and then we send them off to the labs to be tested. There was one patient that I saw who was quite tricky to get blood out of, and when I was able to take the blood, his wife was over the moon and so was he, and that makes you feel like you've achieved something in the day.
The beauty of John Lewis and the way they work with us and the way we've developed the relationship is there is that flexibility. So whilst he started on the ground floor, he then had the opportunity to move into what we call returns. So that was more in a sort of back of house stock area. But then Matty felt actually, he wanted to do something more. So we looked at what his interests were, and he's a real passion for technology. He loves his tech, he loves his mobile phones, he loves his watches. So we thought, what about consumer electrics in terms of selling? So Matty's seemed pretty keen on that. So since March, Matty's been working on consumer electrics.
One of the most important aspects of a supported internship is the work buddies.
My role as a work buddy involves just making sure that Joe has everything that he needs to do his job. allocating specific tasks. I support Joe in his day-to-day role as I just look after his needs, make sure that he's got plenty of work to do.
My day-to-day job is filing, scanning and closing the jobs on the system and putting new jobs on the system.
Before we get him to do anything, we explain everything. We don't just leave it on his desk and say, you know, work it out yourself. One of Joe's strengths is you only have to show him something once and he's capable of getting on with it.
The best thing with a work buddy is like they can help you with if you got a problem, so like if you got difficult with a customer or like with some kind of machine, they will come and help you how to fix the problem, then you know what to do next time.
The supported internship runs from mid-September to mid-July. The aim is that interns will be ready to move into paid employment by the end of the programme. Interns start looking for paid work from Easter, supported by their job coaches and work buddies. They help interns develop their CVs and covering letters, then help interns search and apply for jobs and prepare for the interview. So at the end of the internship programme, many end up securing jobs, but the outcomes are lasting in many more ways.
The differences I see in interns when I support them as a work buddy is their confidence over the weeks grows. Because the confidence is grown, they feel like they've got the ability to do more, so you can give them more. Being a supported intern has made me more confident and just taught me that I can succeed in the workplace.
Being a part of the phlebotomy team is brilliant. The amount of diversity that is in just one group of people has made me love the NHS even more.
I recommend the internship with to friends because you get support along the way and you can get a full-time job or like a part-time job.
100% I would recommend a supported internship. The best thing I've ever done in life. Take this ride. You need to come here.
To find out more about supported internships, email esemployers@leeds.gov.uk.
Thanks for listening to that. There's nothing more powerful than hearing and seeing the young people themselves. So, yeah, really, really strong programme. So there were 2,500 supported internships nationally a couple of years ago, and the government started to see the impact they were having with young people getting into sustainable careers with SEND, and so they decided to put some money behind it to try and increase the breadth and the reach of supported internships, and so they put £18 million into local authorities to really help the messages get through so that parents and carers are aware of what's available and so that people can really access them a lot more easily. So, but they absolutely are the single most thing that I've ever seen in my life in SEND, getting young people through the door into employment. It's that opportunity where the student has quite a long amount of time to learn the job, make mistakes, build confidence and actually shine. And I have to say that within about 6 weeks of them being on site, no matter which role they're doing, you will see a dramatic difference in the confidence and the self-esteem of that young person because they're starting to be valued by other people. They're starting to feel, I can do this, and then they just go on a bit of a whoosh curve. So it's the most amazing programme that I've ever seen. I'm very passionate about it. Over to you.
So what is a supported internship? So I'm just going to give you a bit of a run through. So it's an unpaid work-based programme, so it runs for 1 academic year. The learner will spend 70% of their time with the employer in the workplace, and they'll be supported by a dedicated job coach to support them within that role. They will then also spend at least 1 day within the education provider doing maths and English qualifications or maintaining their maths and English if they've already got it. And the way that the learner is put into a workplace is by a job matching process. So we'll ensure that the job that they're in is something that they're wanting to do and achieve, to make sure that they do progress in their career once they've finished their internship.
Thanks, Jess. So the model, there are really three really key elements to this. A supported internship has to be run by an approved education establishment, such as a college. So in Leeds, we've got Leeds City College and Lighthouse Futures Trust. And there will no doubt be other organisations coming on board over the coming years. There's also funding comes from the Education Skills and Funding Agency to the education provider to be able to successfully run them. The young person spends on average two to 3 days on site. It actually can be up to 5 depending on the employer and depending on the role that they're doing. So they do vary depending on provider and depending on the role. Some of ours are 5 days, some of ours are 3, and I think
Yes, so at Leeds City College we do 2 days with the employer and 1 day at college.
And I think one of the key things is it's the coming together of 3 different parties. Obviously, the education provider will know the young person quite well and know SEND inside out. The employer, it might be fairly new to them, so it's really important that the provider is supporting the employer and the employer goes on a journey. And we only work with organisations that have diversity and inclusion at the heart of what they do, and those with an intent of an outcome. So we don't always get outcomes in the host employer. That's probably about 50%, but the employer needs to have an intention of helping young people moving into paid work. And obviously the young person themselves, but actually around the young person, it's the parents and carers. So they're really important in that encouraging for them, it's a big change from just going to college to being in an employer. And so we support the families to support the young people to success. And so it is quite a joined-up partnership between all of those organisations.
So who can access a supported internship? So learners with EHCPs, educational healthcare plans, can access an internship. It is designed for 16 to 25-year-olds. And really it should be their final year in education, because ideally, obviously, after an internship, they will go into employment.
Could I just add, there is also a pilot running in Leeds for young people without an education, health and care plan. The government realised that there were some people who were sort of falling through the gaps, so they might not have had their needs identified at a school age, or they might not have wanted to have their additional needs sort of highlighted. So there are some young people that struggle in a mainstream college environment, but a supported internship would really be successful. Now we're hoping that this pilot that's being run nationally will hopefully lead to something. I think it might be 2 years or so till we get news of that at the other end, but it's quite exciting because I think we all probably can identify young people in our mind that could have really thrived on a supported internship. So just talking about why a supported internship, the confidence that the young people get is absolutely huge, and the skills that they gain for doing a job, they'll go, oh, I can't do that. No, I'm not confident to do that. You go, well, try it. We'll show you again. We'll keep showing you until you've got it. And it's that confidence to actually to see that they are doing it. It's amazing. To work amongst colleagues and carry out a genuine job role. Work experience is generally something that's manipulated or put on specially for a student. This is going into an organisation and doing the same as the person next to them, but maybe having the role slightly adapted for them. So say, for example, there's a desk-based role and it involves answering the phones. we might say, can we take that piece out of that role because that person isn't going to thrive in that, but let's put more of this in. So roles are slightly morphed around, but actually they're a cog in the wheel, and if they don't turn up to work, that piece of work doesn't get done and it doesn't get fed to the next team, and they feel that sense of responsibility. They find out, massively find out what they're good at and what they love, sometimes what they're not good at and what they don't like. But 99% of the time, the matching exercise that's done at the beginning and the vocational profiling gets them into the right role. Occasionally, somebody might change into a different role if it's not right, or they want to try something else and expand their skill set further. The independence that they gain during this year is amazing because they're amongst adults, they're in a professional environment, and they've learnt to travel a lot of the time on their own. They've learnt to join social clubs that happen outside of work, and it's that real sort of it's that transition into adulthood. It's something that is very, very visible throughout the year. They learn to manage their time and learn to manage, all those jobs that you need to do around getting to work. Learn how to set themselves targets. So our job coaches will have the targets set for them, but remind them, and then they add in different targets that they want to include. We do employability skills until it's coming out of their ears, because once they leave us, we continue to support. But the thing that really makes my heart dance is when a student comes to me and goes, "Don't worry, Katie, I've actually found myself a new job." And this young man was actually going on a cruise liner in the Caribbean. And he went, "You don't need to help me with the interview. You don't need to help me with any of the process. You've taught me everything I need to do." So that teaching employability skills around the workplace role is really important too. And also learning to be safe. I'm a parent, and, you're terrified that, they won't know what to say, or they might be taken advantage of. And those things are true. But our job coaches are there. Part of their role is to teach them how to be safe, how to communicate, how to avoid certain situations, who to contact if they don't feel safe. And that's really, really important. So Jess is going to talk through a typical day.
Yeah, so this kind of day that you'll see will depend on the employer and the learner as well, but a bit of an overview. So obviously they'll arrive at the employer and they will go to a base room where the job coach will be. They'll spend kind of touching base with the job coach, talking about kind of the day before and what the day looks like ahead. They'll then go to see their work buddy, who is in the department that they're working with. So we find this is really important for the learner to have someone they can touch base within the team that they're in, to ensure that they do feel a part of the team. But obviously the job coach will still be there to support them throughout the day. They'll then have a lunch break, and then they'll return back to their work buddy, carrying on their daily tasks. And then at the end of the day, they meet up with their job coach back at the base room to kind of reflect on the day. And we do some work journals so they can kind of keep track on what they've done and what they might need support on kind of throughout the week.
Thank you. You've got a little fan who's calling you in the background. It's actually Jess's assistant dog over there. So, have I clicked on? No. Oh dear. So who'll employ me? So at the end of supported internship, we hope that the host employer is going to offer jobs. Sometimes we get 100% with one employer. One of the things we haven't said is that we might run internships slightly differently. We have between 3 and 8 young people on a site with 1 or 2 job coaches, and that might be the same for you, or do you have more?
Similar, but we work with quite small employers, so there might be just one learner in there, or there might be 1 to 2.
Yeah. And so we aim for a minimum of 50% of paid outcomes in the host employer. However, we have a service where we work with young people probably from about March onwards, to introduce them to other employers as well. And we run reverse jobs fairs so that other employers can come and meet them and see their skills, and the employer can reference the work they do. And I will stress that the employment is not to do with how good they were. It's to do with organisational, it's to do with whether the employer has got paid roles. We had one organisation that was promising 8 jobs, and at the end, they couldn't come through with any because they had a headcount freeze, but all 8 got employment elsewhere. So we keep working relentlessly and supporting relentlessly through the journey for young people to get into paid work. And so, I think nationally the figures have been about 50%. In Leeds, we've been really lucky. We've been getting between 85, 90%, and we got 100% job offers in lockdown. So I think it's just that we've got a richness of really good employers here and really strong relationships. So, So I think, I think Leeds has been doing okay.
Thank you. Yes, so the support, obviously, once the intern has finished their internship, we as providers will continue to support that learner once they've finished, especially through their 6-month probation, to make sure we'll do check-ins and support any way we can. And then there's also access to work that will also support. And they will ensure that if there's any equipment that needs to be funded or any job coaches, they can also be funded through access to work. To make sure that they're successful in their new role.
Thank you. So I just thought it might be helpful. It's not an exhaustive list, but just to give you an idea of some of the companies that young people are working with. I think there's 4 in John Lewis. They're working in the basement with inward, outward parcels. They're working on the shop floors in all the different departments. HMRC, we've currently got 5 who are now doing tax investigations, and we've got 1 that's just received a job offer. We've got Sodexo, where we do facilities management and ground maintenance. Arla Foods in the distribution site where the dairy is, up in Sturton. The NHS, we've got St James's Hospital and LGI. And you saw the phlebotomist. They don't all have to be phlebotomists. And we've got people, again, doing facilities management, doing receptions in outpatients, doing business admin, doing lab roles. There are 350 roles there. So if we know a student's coming through with some really strong, keen interests in healthcare, we can go and ask the NHS, can we open a door in this department or that department? KPMG, we're working in the post room and in the restaurants there and have worked in the tax in the past. Fortrea they do drugs trials before they go into production. So we do some clinical roles and some data roles. And SPS, we do the back-end admin for the NHS. Johnson & Johnson, hips and shoulders factory in Beeston, right across the board there, lots of different roles. And Leeds City Council, we're just starting with highways in September and been working with parks and gardens. But, Leeds City College, you're working with a number of employers. We've got some new ones coming on board. It's an endless... There's often more employers than there are young people. So whatever the needs and desires career-wise of a young person, I'm sure between us we can crack it and find the best place for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just to give it some ideas on what the jobs might be. So whether that's admin assistants, we have learners going out doing maintenance on ground sites, lab technicians, retail assistants, sales partners. I mean, the list goes on. But with all these employers, there's lots of different types of roles in the employers, and we make sure we job match to the learner. And I think that's what the most crucial bit in all of this is, to make sure the internship is successful.
Oh, thank you. So finally, in fact, I'm better hand back to Jess because this is one of her students.
Yeah, so just thought I'll give you a bit of a case study of our current intern. So this is Nathan. So Nathan actually started within foundation studies at Leeds City College, doing the work skills pathway. He then moved on to our supported internship. So he now works, well, in his internship, he worked at UTC in the cafes. So he was doing lots of different things, whether that was actually cooking the food or being at the till serving, so customer service as well. And Nathan kind of grew throughout the year, built his confidence in the kitchen and customer service. And I'm pleased to say he's actually just been accepted to his first time role, so which is great news. But yes, there's lots of success stories, but I just think this is a great one to go on.
Oh, thanks so much. And just to add to that as well, I think we see a lot of young people who some have been out of education, out of school for a number of years. You know, the anxiety has got too much for them. And so we've had one young lady at the age of 30, she normally speaks at these, but she couldn't get out of work today. But she had, from the age of 13 and a half, didn't really leave her bedroom apart from doctor's appointments and things. Came on our programme, very, very gradual start. And she's now saving up for a house and a car and just having a really fantastic life and speaks at events like this. She's been in front of audiences of 50 plus before, confidently speaking, and she's now a work buddy from the employer's point of view. So I can't tell you how the huge impact that supported internships have. I'd love to see every chair in this room taken, and hopefully we'll have a few more people today. But I think it's a good note to kind of hand over to you. Have you got any questions that we can help you with?
So I just wondered if you'd got any advice as to how to choose between.
Ultimately, it's down to you know what your daughter and you think she'll thrive in. We've had people who've dropped out of year one university and they're now working in labs. We've had people who don't want to do apprenticeships because they're a bit exhausted with education. And I think once they're into employment, the time that they would spend in an employer instead of at university, you get to a higher or the same place. It's really just what suits them, what they feel safer doing. And either of us would be happy to talk to you separately and give you some more information. We're on stand 49, we're Lighthouse, and you're...
Oh, I think we're stand 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else that we can help with?
It's always a tricky one, trying to decide what's the best thing to do. I mean, I speak from experience as well because I have a daughter who has autism, and it is a tricky one. But a lot depends on what they want to do and what their level is, what their capabilities are. You know, if they're capable of doing an apprenticeship and if they're capable of going on to university. My daughter wasn't. So it's about just researching as much as you possibly can to try and help make that decision. You just can't do enough research, find out what apprenticeships are like and what they involve and how long they last and who's offering them, what types of apprenticeships there are, and the same with supported internships. So you're doing the right thing to get as much information as you can, and then you've just got to make your choices. And even though you make a choice, you may not get what you want because some of them are very competitive. Like I know apprenticeships, for example, can be very competitive. So just because you've decided on something doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. So you need a backup plan as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks so much for coming. Yeah, thank you.